Today is March the 4th, and it's almost 2 months since most people started their Bible reading in a year plan, and it's almost a month and a half since most people stopped their Bible in a year reading plan, or at least that was my experience when I tried to do a read through the Bible in a whole year. I think one of the main reasons for that is the kind of sense of guilt that builds up as we try to keep up with this reading plan, this intensive reading plan of 4 or more chapters a day, and as we're just falling behind it and we feel like, well, we can't catch up, so what's the point in even bothering? And that's a real shame, because the goal is a noble one, to try and read through the whole of the Bible in a year, but this psychology of shame can affect us in such a negative way. And so I wanted to share today a different way to read through your Bible in a year, a way that can help with that motivation to keep you going to try and achieve that aim, but actually plays in a different way. Rather than the sense of shame that we failed to achieve something, it helps to motivate us to do more, and that is by using a Bible reading tracker. So I have one here. Actually, this is my one for the year, which I'll show later, but this is the template I've created in Obsidian, and as you can see, I've got every book of the Bible from the Old Testament and the New Testament. I don't have the Apocrypha, but if that's something that's in your reading plan, then we can add that in for you later. But each book has every chapter listed, and these are just plain text check boxes that you can tick off as you go through. Because it's a template, this is something you can reuse year after year. You can make one for 2022. Next year you can make a new one. Also, you don't have to use the whole thing. You could copy the text, the checkboxes for, let's say, Genesis. If your church is going through a series on Genesis and you want to read it again, you can copy that and use it there. Now, there are some limits, obviously. I don't have the ability to mark if you read something twice in a year. This is more just about marking as you go along. And now the purpose of this is, instead of the kind of shame that you haven't read, this is trying to provide the motivation of what you have read. And so on some occasions, you may only have time to read one chapter in a day, or you may have to skip a day for some reason. Not great, but there are occasions when it happens. And instead, but also on other days, you may read through a whole book in one go, and then you can tick off a book and you can see that, wow, I've read through a book in this day. And it also has some other elements that I want to show you. So let me show you how I've been using it this year. So far I've been reading some parts for myself, my own interest, and some parts for some courses I've done. As you can see, I finished reading through Joshua. It was actually my paper Bible, and I took some notes there. And that was the first book I read through. I wanted to read some of the challenging sections there. And then I decided to change my approach when I came to Samuel and to the Psalms later on, which I'm reading for my course. So when I came to the Psalms, I wanted to give like a summary of each psalm and, what type of psalm it is as I'm going through, just as these reflections. So I've got these little notes that I can see about each one, which I could come back to and reference later. And the same again that I'm doing with Samuel, so perhaps I can also start to trace the narrative of this book. And then if I show you later on in Galatians, this was a sermon series that we preached through recently. So I have some notes on the sermons that I've added here. I can add in some more of my notes, some references that I've done there. I've actually, I'd forgotten about the notes that I had on Galatians, which I can build up here, but I can tie these more into other notes that I have, so I'll have a collection of things that are going through there. And so that's just how it works. It's incredibly simple. It's just a tracker rather than something which is planned and laid out. So I'm making it available. There's a link below that you can go and download this tracker. And I'm sure you could adapt it for something like Notion as well. So I'd love to know if you use this plan and if you adapt it for your own uses and how you do that. Please leave a comment below and let me know. To get more Obsidian tips and templates that you can use for your own Christian development, then subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next one. I'll see you